What's up, Guardians? Profane here. Thanks for checking out the video. Today we'll be diving into the Pit of Heresy for an updated guide on how anyone can easily solo and solo flawless this dungeon here in the final shape. When the Pit of Heresy is on rotation, it'll make a great source for high stat armor, and with Solstice currently available, it'll be a great way to farm for silver leaves. The Pit of Heresy is a first generation dungeon that takes place on the moon. It's not quite as mechanic driven as some of the newer dungeons are, but it can still be a challenge for some players. But with new Prismatic builds, Guardians have a wide array of abilities to crush your opponents and survive some of the most brutal onslaughts. And a leading contributor to that is Transcendency, which lets you spam your abilities while reaping the benefits of bonus damage resistance. We will be using a Prismatic Warlock in today's video, and because of the recent nerf to the Getaway Artist, we've decided to go with a Dawn Chorus with the Song of Flame Super so that we can trigger bonus Scorch damage. As you enter into the Pit of Heresy, you'll start off in the Sorrows Harbor. You'll have to drop down and navigate through the cave systems until you get to the Necropolis. This first encounter requires you to unlock 3 different hive seals to progress deeper into the dungeon. These seals are guarded by a hive wizard, a hive knight, and a shrieker, and you'll need to use a sword of Crota to defeat them and unlock their corresponding seals. To defeat the knight, you'll need to use the light swing attacks. To defeat the wizard, you'll need to use the ranged heavy attack. And to defeat the shrieker, you'll need to block and reflected shots back at it. To identify which seals need to be unlocked, you'll need to go to the room with a symbol that looks like an uppercase A. Defeat the group of enemies that's outside of the room, and then defeat the broken Blade Knight that's hanging out in the room. And once he's defeated, you'll see 3 symbols appear in the center. Grab the Sword of Crota and head to each room that matches the symbols that you just saw. When you run out of sword ammo, you'll need to track down another sword-bearing knight, and these will periodically spawn in on the bridgeway. Once you've unlocked all 3 seals, a green beacon of light will start to shine out of one of the center platforms. Head over to the beacon and then defeat the small group of enemies that's waiting for you, and afterwards, the door will open up, granting you access into the pit. Once you've dropped down into the pit, you'll have to acquire 3 void charges and dunk them at corresponding podiums. To obtain the 3 charges, you'll need to locate the yellow bar knights that are hiding out in the cave systems, but there are unkillable ogres that are guarding the hallways, so you'll need to be careful and use your minimap to identify where the enemies are hiding. Once you've dunked all 3 charges, the doorways into the next area will open up. But you need to make sure that you don't draw the aggro of any of the ogres into this next area, because if you do, there's a chance that they won't despawn, and if that happens, they will put a swift end to a flawless run. In this next encounter, you'll have to collect 6 total charges to unlock the doorway that lets you into the rest of the dungeon. These charges drop from yellow bar knights that spawn in from each of the 3 areas. You'll also need to maintain control of the hive plate during this encounter. You are able to leave the plate, but only for a limited amount of time, so when you do go to grab a charge, you'll need to be quick. If the plate turns red and stays that way for too long, you'll wipe. During this encounter, you'll be debuffed with a Curse of Suffering, and the only way to remove those stacks is to dunk the charges into the podium. Once you've dunked a charge, watch out for the Boomer Knights that spawn in towards the top of the room. The next encounter requires you to track down and defeat 3 yellow bar wizards. You'll need to navigate around a lot of obstacles to find these wizards, so I would recommend using a sword just to expand your field of view and improve your mobility. Just like you did in the cave system, you'll need to use your mini-map to identify where these wizards are. And now it's time for the final boss fight against Zulmak, the Instrument of Torment. This encounter calls back the mechanics from the Necropolis, so you'll have to get a sword from a sword bearer and then defeat the Shrieker, Wizard, and Knight to obtain void charges. And you'll need to dunk those charges into the center stage to be able to damage Zulmak. Once damage phase has started, you'll have 45 seconds to inflict as much damage onto Zulmak as you can, but you have to stay in the circle to deal damage. There will be cursed thrall that push in while you're dealing damage, so be sure to watch out for those. This boss deals a lot of solar damage, so you'll need to be sure to use solar resistance and concussive dampener mods. I would also recommend using a combination of the tractor cannon and a shotgun with either 1-2 punch or trench barrel. The lament would also be a good option for optimal damage. As the damage phase comes to an end, Zulmak will thrust his sword into the ground, triggering a wipe mechanic. So if you aren't able to defeat him in this first attempt, you'll need to get out of the circle and rinse and repeat the process over again. Compared to some of the newer dungeons, the Pit of Heresy is a much easier and much quicker dungeon to run through. Even as a solo player, it should only take you about 45 minutes to complete, and it'll make great practice as you prepare yourself to try to solo other dungeons, like Warlord's Ruin or Ghost of the Deep. With that said, we're going to let the rest of the footage play through, but I wish you all the best of luck in completing this dungeon yourself. If you need help putting together a good build to solo this or any other dungeon, then be sure to check out my Mobalytics link that's down in the description. And if you're a new Light Guardian, or a battle-hardened veteran just looking for a new place to call home, then be sure to check out the Discord link that's also down in the description, and join one of the greatest communities in all of Destiny. Thank you as always for checking out the video. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit the like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.